Good morning. This is Lily in the Flippin' Out series. This is our video about prioritizing your rehab project. Now, we've already talked about selecting a property. We've talked about inspecting a property. Now we want to talk about everything that needs to be done and how to organize it and attack it in a logical manner that's both cost effective and doesn't blow your budget. So let's say you've done all your inspections. Now you have a handle on what's missing. The things that a bank will need to see to make sure that a house can be lendable is going to include a roof in good condition. So if your roof is shot, maybe you got the house at a discount, but plan to either repair the roof, put a new roof on, or somehow offer a discount at time of sale for a new roof. But most banks won't accept a credit in escrow for significant repairs like that because they have no guarantee that the buyer will actually perform the work. So they will often require that it be done during the escrow period prior to the transfer of title. So unless you want to get into a big roof repair inside of a 30-day escrow, I'd try and make sure your roof is going to pass muster. Now that doesn't mean that just because you've got 10 years left on a 30-year roof that it won't pass. Get your contractor to make sure and tell you, yeah, this roof's fine. It's older, but it's fine. Or no, this roof is on its last legs. And find out how much that will be. Is it $3,000, $7,000, $12,000? This is a big variable. So if you need a roof, put that kind of at the top of your list. Me personally, I try not to buy houses that need roofs just because there's so much else to do inside. Then again, if the inside's really nice and all it needs more or less is a roof, sometimes you can make all your money off of just replacing that and making it fresh and clean with a little paint. Okay, so roof. Next, infrastructure. Again, make sure your electrical panel is not old. That should be on the top of your list. Make sure all your outlets are working and there's no ungrounded service anywhere, particularly at the main panel. So you don't want some little girl touching the refrigerator and electrocuting herself, day after she moves in. That would not be a nice way to start your day at all as the seller. So, make sure the panels are new enough and the service is properly grounded and safe. Okay, then if you live in a hurricane state like I do, you might want to check that your roof is tied down or have a hurricane abatement survey done so that you can get a deduction in the cost of your insurance. Also look for any wood rot or pests. Mention that. Those are top on your list. They need to get done. The next probably biggest bang for your buck is going to be paint. Paint is your best friend when you're rehabbing. A fresh coat of paint on the outside makes a house look like it's just built. But don't put fresh paint over crappy trim if it's all nicked and crooked and all that. Do a nice job tidying up the exterior. Trim the bushes so they can get at the paint. And, bother to paint the garage door if it needs freshening. Paint the front door. Get maybe some new door hardware. These are just little tips. They're not necessarily high on their list of requirements, but you get a lot of bang for your buck with paint. Paint the interior. Me personally, unless I'm painting it myself, I don't want to pay guys to have to do 2 coats because they're expensive. Their time is expensive, so I try to buy a higher grade paint, like a 1-coat coverage. And pick your color carefully. If you don't know anything about design, don't go wild with red walls and green this and yellow that. You have to be pretty neutral when you're picking colors. But don't be so afraid that you do everything white. White is like a blank, boring canvas that has absolutely no appeal and no contrast. When I'm painting the interior of a home, I usually use a standard warm color like linen white with some kind of a white trim. Linen white has a real yellowish hue to it. So it's actually light but warm. Or maybe I'll go with some sort of a light gray. Gray can be on the cool side or it can be on the warm side. Just depends which gray you pick or a beige. Beiges are nice, but I try to stay away from the ones that look too pinky or too orangey or peachy. Get out of those really pastel colors because those turn off a lot of male buyers. So you just want to stay neutral. Then for your flooring is probably the next biggest expense, though it isn't the order of operations necessarily. Some people put flooring in before cabinets, some people put it in after. I prefer to have my cabinets on top of the floor unless it's really high price per square foot. Some people say putting a floating floor the floating floor should go around the cabinets. I kind of think this is a whack perspective because yeah, it's a floating floor, but what if I want to change my cabinets? Now I got to rip out my whole floor and start over again, or match it in, or try to fix what's missing. And by the way, when you buy flooring, always buy an extra box or two. Have the flooring guys help you pick it out, because just because you have 16 square feet of flooring doesn't mean you only need 1,600 square feet of material. There's going to be waste and overage, so just factor that in. Also, bathrooms and kitchens sell a house, so try to decide what kind of cabinetry you want to use. If the existing cabinetry is functional and clean, you might be able to get away with keeping it, but if it looks dated or it's cheap, then you're not going to get your top dollar. On the other hand, if it costs you 10 grand to redo a kitchen and you only have 10 grand in profit in the whole deal, well, you're just kind of wiping out your whole margin. And what's the point of doing this if you're not going to make any money? So you always have to balance what my budget is versus what my margin is on the property. What can I resell it for minus what I paid for it, plus the total amount that I'm going to spend on it. Anything after that is your profit, but remember, unless you're an agent or you're going to just do a listing only type of thing, when you go to sell the property, you need to pay an agent. That can be up to 6% of your total sale price. Then you have escrow costs and whatever other fees and whatnot that you have to pay to close the deal. Recording costs, transfer title fees, things like that. Those are usually minimal, but again, if you're only working with a $10,000 profit and you got $1,500 in fees, that's something. And then, by the way, you owe taxes on top of that, because this is short-term income. If you're flipping, you haven't owned the property probably for more than a year, so it's a short-term gain. Okay, so now back to where we were. We were talking about flooring, right, and cabinets. So now if you go and look at cabinets, a lot of people are tempted to go with something like IKEA, where they ship them to you in a flat pack, which is, box. And then you have to build them all, or you have to pay somebody to build them. So be aware that just because the price you pay at the checkout is lower than what you might pay for a pre-built cabinet, it probably doesn't include assembly and delivery. Those can add up. If you can put them together yourself, all the more. But remember, time is money when you're flipping. If you don't know how to knock out cabinets, you got 15 of them to build, you're going to be there for a week. It's going to slow you down. You're just going to be building cabinets, and that's even sometimes doing it full time and knowing what you're doing. But if you're trying to flip houses after work, after your full-time job, you have a family, and you're going to build your own cabinets, no. Just buy them pre-made or pay somebody to build them for you, because you'll slow down your job. Now, that said, okay, so cabinets consideration. You can buy nice pre-made cabinets at the big box stores, but a lot of times they're not really good quality, and you're really going to need to shop around. I never want to pay more than $2,500 or so for a whole kitchen and bathroom, like two bathroom vanities. A lot of times we're using kitchen vanities now in the bathrooms, just because it's cheaper to buy the whole pack together. it makes the vanity a little higher than a standard vanity and a little deeper. So kitchen cabinets are typically have a finished height of 36 inches and a depth of 24. A bathroom vanity might be a little lower. Standard bathroom vanities like 33 and 22 or something, or 18 deep, depending on the cabinet. So bear that in mind. Also, when you're planning your cabinet space, if you don't know how to do it, get a designer or read a book, because I've seen a lot of people build cabinets with drawers that won't open and doors that bang into each other and no clearance for the dishwasher to open all the way. That kind of stuff. That's rank amateur that can be avoided if you just plan well and get a little bit of a handle on what you're doing. We'll talk more about the specifics of that later, but we're still ranking. Okay, so cabinets. Now we're into the interior design. Okay, so you've got your envelope wrapped up. You've repaired, your well pump. You've replaced your filtration system if you need to. You've got your roof tidied up, your bugs and pests abated, and any rotten wood replaced. Now you're doing the inside now. You probably want to avoid moving fixtures and taking down walls and rearranging in a big way. Flipping is about updating and selling for a profit. It's not about redesigning the grand home of your dreams. And this is another thing that newbies do that slows down their project and cuts into their profit. Okay, realize this is not your home. You don't have to have soft close cabinets all the time. You don't have to have, the most expensive, beautifully grained granite. You can go with the builder grade. If you're really on it, if you're doing a lot of houses, you can get granite for $4.50 a sheet. A whole slab. And then you have to pay to fabricate it. So when you're doing your countertops, bear that in mind. I had some cost overruns one time, and I had to do a butcher block countertop. I wasn't able to do the granite because I didn't have a nice slab like that left over at $4.50 a sheet. And it probably cost me another $1,600 to fabricate it anyway, so I'm still in $2,000 in. Well, I didn't have that much, I had half that. So I went and got butcher block countertops, which were pretty cool and nice looking. But some people, like down here in Florida, they're not used to it. They don't use a lot of wood here because it's mildewy, and they think that that's all going to happen in their kitchen, which it doesn't happen. You seal the wood, or you oil it, or something, and you can have really nice butcher block for a lot less than granite. But stuff like that matters. Tiling in your bathrooms is going to be more expensive than putting up a shower surround. But again, depending on your market, some places fiberglass shower surrounds will just, that's a turnoff. In other cases, it doesn't matter. And you just have to depend on you just have to consider how much time you have and what you want to do with the place. So now we're back into prioritizing your job. Next time we'll talk more about design considerations, material selection, and how to use subcontractors effectively in future videos. Okay, thanks for listening. Get your priorities together, and we'll talk to you next time.